Hi, Wolfpack fans. I'm Jeff Gravely.
I'm Tony Haynes. We're beginning a new era on the Wolfpack Sports Network. Welcome, Chaz. Matt Chazanow.
In the words of the great Jim Nance, hello, friends. That wasn't very original, was it? It's just so good.
Borrowed from a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, and it's a message to his dad, too. It's an inside story to that. Anyway, I'm Tony Haynes, along with Jeff Gravely. Well, for NC State football, the second half of the season is going to begin coming up at Carter Finley Stadium against a much-improved Syracuse team. And the Pack has gotten through the first half, 3-3. Overall, and 0-2 in the ACC. We're going to try to dissect that a little bit here over the course of this podcast, talk about the defense, especially has struggled, and that's unusual based on what we've seen here over the last 4 or 5 years. Pac's been one of the better defensive teams in the ACC. So we got that coming up here this week on the pod. Hoops, not too far away now, a couple of weeks, going to be playing exhibition games.
Yeah, and already this week they are doing their trip to Charlotte for the ACC tip-off. The men and the women are being in Charlotte to talk basketball. Obviously, Coach Keats and Coach Moore, but also Michael O'Connell, Jaden Taylor, Sanaya Rivers, and Isaiah James will be there to talk all things Wolfpack, including both trips to the Final Four for the men and the women.
We're defending champions. Okay, we're gonna wear that crown and we're gonna wear it until somebody else can take it from us. But I swear to you, I don't want to give it back. I want to keep building on it. So there's a great opportunity. When Michael came and JT came and Dennis came last year and Ben came last year, the other guys were here, we talked about this. Now they're champions. So I'm talking about the same thing with you, all you new guys here, talking about it. We're gonna talk it into existence about how hard we work, but it's there for you. Like, this is an opportunity. We're coming off of 2 NCAA tournaments. We're coming off ACC champions. We're coming off of Final Four appearance. Okay? We want more. Okay? We want to duplicate. We want to go back. We want to win the ACC again, and we want to win the national championship. Like, we're not going to shy away from what we want. Okay? But it's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take the new guys and the veteran guys who've been through it for everybody to get on the same page.
My name is Paul McNeil. I'm an incoming freshman from Rockingham, North Carolina. I played at Richardson High School. Unfortunately we didn't get the state championship, but I feel like we built up a community. We made it a basketball city. We changed the whole city around. The kids look up to us. They ain't had nobody to look up to, and we made that for them. So that was a blessing. My hometown's Rockingham. People know Richmond County. Everybody know everybody. It's a small town, small county. A lot of people don't make it out. There's just a lot of distractions, but we did it. Harmon is a young boy from a little city that got big dreams. A hard worker, somebody that stays in the gym, a great student athlete, somebody who put a lot of smiles on their face. The process has been great. The physicality, the energy, the pace of the game is way different from high school and transition over. It's been fun, man. Filling everybody out, everybody looking good, everybody feeling good. Everybody feel good around each other, it's a blessing.
By the way, the first exhibition game for the men will be October 30th. Their first game, obviously, is November 4th, which is a Monday. They'll be raising 2 banners.
That's awesome.
On the 4th.
Yep.
The women, their first exhibition game is October 29th. Their first home game is November 5th, and they will be raising a Final Four banner at Reynolds Coliseum. I think it's interesting, too, that if you look at the women, right out of the gate on November 10th, they're going to face the team that they faced last year in the Final Four that beat them, and that's South Carolina, the reigning national champions. They're going to play that game in Charlotte. So Westmore and the program, not afraid to play anybody, anytime, anywhere. You just look at their schedule over the last few years, and you see that.
And over Thanksgiving weekend, the men will have a rematch with Purdue.
That's true.
Out
so
in
we
San
got Final
Diego.
Four rematches for both teams.
Yeah, that's fun. Not so much fun is what we saw on the football field last Saturday in NC State's game against Wake Forest. Obviously, it was a tough loss for the Pack when you have a 10-point lead going into the fourth period, and Wake Forest went to the running game and came back. But most notably was the vicious hit taken by Wolfpack starting quarterback Grayson McCall on NC State's very first drive of the game.
Pulse of the Pack is sponsored in part by Coca-Cola. Crisp, refreshing, and irresistibly tasty. Is Coke Zero Sugar the best Coke ever? Try and decide.
It's Truck Month at your Carolina Ford dealers. Get great offers on a large selection of Ford F-150 trucks with available smart tech like Ford Blue Cruise, the hands-free highway driver assist feature named Consumer Reports' top-rated active driving assistance system 2 years in a row. Tough this smart can only be found here during Ford Truck Month. Get up to $10,250 in total savings plus 3 years of Ford Blue Cruise on a 2024 Ford F-150 XLT Hybrid.
These mascots represent some of the most heated rivalries in college sports. What could possibly bring them all together? Everyone agrees on the best team in smart home security. CPI.
From protecting your teeth and gums, to restoring your smile, to sponsoring your local team, Tar Heel Periodontics is the premier periodontal practice of the Triangle community. Our team of highly skilled doctors provide dental care as individual as you are, working with you to build a personalized treatment plan to create the beautiful, healthy smile of your dreams. With offices conveniently located across the Triangle and Central North Carolina, you're never far from the Tar Heel Periodontics family. Visit our website or call now.
This segment of Pulse of the Pack is presented by Coca-Cola.
You know, Grayson had sat out a couple of games. He was ready to play again, and as Dave Dorn noted, he got his starting job back because you don't lose your starting job due to an injury. So he'd been out a couple of games with an injury. The Pack started him out. He had the NC State rolling right down the field on that first drive. He had looked good. And then one of the most vicious hits we've seen in that stadium. His helmet was knocked off on the first hit, and then he took a face mask to helmetless hit to his head, and he was knocked out on the field. It was a frightening sight for all of us. I was standing on the sidelines right in front of me, and you could tell he was knocked out. He was kind of laying on his side, and everybody, that 50,000 people couldn't be quieter than that. And Dave Dorn said in his 30 years of coaching, that's the scariest moment he's encountered out on a football field.
And so it's McCall in a pistol set, 1st and 10 at the Demon Deacon 48. Now it's an end around flea flicker. McCall spirals near side. Jolie with a grab at the 25. Dances inside the 20, and he's inside the Case IH red zone. Justin Jolie on a trick play. End around flea flicker from Grayson McCall. Steps up in the pocket, tucks and runs. Crowd roars, takes a monster shot. Ball comes free, his helmet's off, and he's down at the 10.
Oh, no.
Scary moments here as the play is still live, and the entire training staff has jogged out at the 10-yard line as McCall got hit. The helmet came off. The Deacons were running now down to the Pack 2-yard line, and everybody now is at the 10, and attention back to Grayson McCall, who was not moving after he got hit.
Just an entire army of doctors and trainers are out there.
Just a moment ago, as they started to take Grayson McCall, he waves to the crowd, and clearly that's the first thing everybody's thinking of. Can he move it? Limbs. That's at least a great first step, as he will be taken to a local hospital undoubtedly immediately.
So recapping the game, like I said after, I was very proud of how we responded after a really tough moment with Grayson's injury. In reflection, it's probably 30 years of being on a college field, the scariest moment I've had, and felt so bad for him and his parents. I thought our trainer, Justin Smith, our head athletic trainer, did an amazing job on that field with his team and the docs, managing the chaos of the moment, keeping everybody calm. Did a tremendous job, you know, and after the game, when information was coming back on how everything was going, communication was great, and you know, got to spend time with Grayson and his family at the hospital after the game. All the scans and things they did came back clean. He was in good spirits. Has been released. Actually, Saturday night was released, and is, you know, with his girlfriend and his parents recovering. He's in the concussion protocol, and we'll give him time, you know, to go through all the steps that he wants to go through before we talk anymore about kind of what the next steps are. You know, I think it's only fair to him and his family to allow them that opportunity and be supportive of him as he goes through this tough time. Reflecting on the game, obviously the significance of Grayson's injury was an emotional toll on our guys. I do feel like we responded, but I know it took a lot out of some of them.
You mentioned that moment with Grayson, and you as a coach, and I know this about you, you've been here 12 years, you are totally locked in to the game when you're coaching. I mean, 100% of your focus is dedicated to that, and then all of a sudden football stops.
Yeah.
I mean, how strange was that?
Yeah, it was the worst thing I've seen on a football field in my career. You know, and I've had compound fractures, guys' legs going the wrong direction, all that kind of stuff. I mean, but to see a guy's helmet come off and then get hit in the head by another player, and that was a physical hit, knowing Grayson's background, it was just like, wow, I can't believe that just happened. And he was playing well. He was excited about playing. He was driving us in to score, all these positive things. And then to see his mom and dad and the whole thing. And, you know, thankfully you could tell pretty quickly that as he regained his consciousness and was talking and actually cracking jokes and telling Justin to get off of him, that, you know, he was going to be okay, right? But still, what happened, it was tough. It was really tough to be a part of.
One of the things that was just so gut-wrenching was to watch the reaction of the people around that huddle of people working on Grayson McCall. And you being field level, you saw it firsthand.
Yeah, you could feel the emotion on the sidelines. A lot of his teammates were in front of me on the sidelines. They were kneeling with their helmets removed. They were praying. Grayson's dad was out on the field, obviously very concerned for his son. And he was bawling on the shoulder of quarterbacks coach Kurt Roper. And Coach Roper was trying his best to console Grayson's dad. You can imagine what he was going through at that moment. And, you know, this is a football game. It's a rivalry game. But something like that, there's a humanity about it that you notice. And that's why Wake Forest coach Dave Clawson came out on the field. He was kneeling just 3 or 4 yards away from that big huddle and the medical personnel that were trying to attend to Grayson McCall. So, you know, at that point, football just wasn't important. You could tell his teammates were really concerned. I think there was a lot of empathy across the board on both sidelines at that moment.
These mascots represent some of the most heated rivalries in college sports. What could possibly bring them all together? Everyone agrees on the best team in smart home security. CPI.
It's Truck Month at your Carolina Ford dealers. Get great offers on a large selection of Ford F-150 trucks with available smart tech like Ford Blue Cruise, the hands-free highway driver assist feature named Consumer Reports' top-rated active driving assistance system 2 years in a row. Tough this smart can only be found here during Ford Truck Month. Get up to $10,250 in total savings plus 3 years of Ford Blue Cruise on a 2024 Ford F-150 XLT Hybrid.
From protecting your teeth and gums, to restoring your smile, to sponsoring your local team, Tar Heel Periodontics is the premier periodontal practice of the Triangle community. Our team of highly skilled doctors provide dental care as individual as you are, working with you to build a personalized treatment plan to create the beautiful, healthy smile of your dreams. With offices conveniently located across the Triangle and Central North Carolina, you're never far from the Tar Heel Periodontics family. Visit our website or call now.
You haven't seen a lot of replays of the hit, and I'm glad we haven't. The CW network did not show a replay of it, but we've seen some replays, and when you look at it, it was the second blow where the helmet comes in contact with Grayson McCall's head with no helmet on it. I mean, look, I don't care if you've had 0 concussions, 1 or whatever, you're going to be concussed in that situation as much as it was. Why wasn't targeting call? Well, that's a whole nother issue. It's been addressed. Coach Dorn has talked to the head of officials for the ACC, and they are pretty much in agreement that the language of the targeting call needs to be changed. Now, one of the things you hear is it's all about hitting a defenseless player. If you're any kind of player and you give yourself up in a slide, you are a defensive player, and if they hit you, that is targeting. Grayson did not slide. He even was talking to Coach Dorn in the hospital on Saturday night. He said, "Coach, I thought about sliding," and then at last minute he's like, "No, I'm not going to do that." That's just his DNA of playing football. But at the same time, it's one of those things where had he slid and had that contact been made, targeting would have been called because he was a defenseless football player and not a runner of the football. There's a little difference there, and I think that's where the language gets a little murky as to what it is, because there is no way when you see a violent hit like that targeting shouldn't be considered. And it was considered by the league office in their master control area. Sure. Now, what would have really helped is had the officials after that play come on and made the announcement to the crowd and to the TV. Targeting was reviewed. It has been reviewed and is not targeting on the play. You know what? I had not thought about that, but that's a great idea. At the very least, just explain it, because there were boos in the stadium. Yes, that were noticeable. A lot of the fans, without seeing the replay, thought it is something worth reviewing publicly. And it had been. We just didn't know it. It had been. And all of those plays are reviewed. That's exactly right. As a parent, there's nothing more stressful than watching your kid play sports. You want them to do well. You want them to stay happy. You want them to stay healthy. And that was what was so gut-wrenching to me, is to look at Grayson's dad, Grayson's mom, and I assumed it was his girlfriend, just their reaction. They've had to go through this before, a year ago, and here they are having to go through it again. So now the conversation is with the doctors, with his parents, and as Dave Dorn said on Monday, if they need my input, I'll be happy to do it, but I'm not going to supersede the decision, because what you're talking about now is, will Grayson McCall play football anymore? Will he make the decision to do that? Will doctors give him the clearance to do that? Will his parents sit down and say, "Son, football's been really good to you, but I don't think I can let you go play anymore"? Those are the kind of things that are going through the whole minds of his doctors, himself, his family. And that's, as Coach Dorn said, I want to give him as much space to figure out what he wants to do as far as the next step. And we don't know what that is at this point.
It's been an up and down thing at the quarterback position. So, hopefully we can get in a routine now, with CJ being the guy the rest of the way and, getting better. I think CJ Bailey, again, he had to come off the bench. I thought it was the best he's played all season long. He had to start at Clemson. He had some moments in that game, but, over that three-quarter stretch, CJ Bailey made some amazing throws. His decision-making was terrific. The way he moved around in the pocket to buy himself some extra time was very impressive. Sometimes he would move in the pocket to pass and not panic and run. A few times he did run, but a lot of young quarterbacks, if they get back there, they go through their progressions, they don't get what they're hoping for, and they're getting a little pressure, they'll just take off. I was impressed how he would slide either to his right or to his left
just buy himself a little extra time and then throw a pretty pass in there to some of his receivers. So, for the 3 quarters, even though Grayson McCall went out on that first drive, the passing game was probably the best it's been all season.
Yeah, you look at CJ, I mean, he had career high in yards, career high in attempts as far as passing, and it was the first game that he'd thrown 2 touchdown passes. The first touchdown to Jackson was an absolute beautifully set up play where he is looking right the whole time and then turns back left, and there is Jackson wide open.
Snap back to Bailey. This is a 3-man Deacon rush. Bailey pumps the brakes on a rollout, reverses it left side of the end zone, touchdown! 9-yarder Keenan Jackson, his first career score!
The pass to Joe Lee was a perfect example of one of those slide to the left.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a full-out scramble. It can be a slide, and that's just as effective, and he did. He slid just a little bit left, found Joe Lee with a dart for the touchdown. So those are things you try to teach, but a lot of it is instinct.
It is.
And knowing when to slide. When you feel that pressure.
You feel the pressure, you're not looking for it.
That's exactly right. And your eyes stay down the field. Yeah. That's the other thing that I've been impressed with him. So I think he's playing beyond a true freshman quarterback. I think he is, shown some, the interception at the end of the game, he gets a little pressure and he drops that arm down a little bit, and it takes him, he throws it wide of Raphael, and it lands in the hands of a Wake Forest player. But that was him making an adjustment, but throwing it off target.
Yep.
Moving forward, it's C.J. Bailey until whatever happens with Grayson McCall, but I think they're in good hands.
Pulse of the Pack is sponsored in part by Carolina Ford Dealers. See your Carolina Ford dealer, proud sponsor of NC State Athletics.
From protecting your teeth and gums, to restoring your smile, to sponsoring your local team, Tar Heel Periodontics is the premier periodontal practice of the Triangle community. Our team of highly skilled doctors provide dental care as individual as you are, working with you to build a personalized treatment plan to create the beautiful, healthy smile of your dreams. With offices conveniently located across the Triangle and Central North Carolina, you're never far from the Tar Heel Periodontics family. Visit our website or call now.
It's Truck Month at your Carolina Ford dealers. Get great offers on a large selection of Ford F-150 trucks with available smart tech like Ford Blue Cruise, the hands-free highway driver assist feature named Consumer Reports' top-rated active driving assistance system 2 years in a row. Tough this smart can only be found here during Ford Truck Month. Get up to $10,250 in total savings plus 3 years of Ford Blue Cruise on a 2024 Ford F-150 XLT Hybrid.
These mascots represent some of the most heated rivalries in college sports. What could possibly bring them all together? Everyone agrees on the best team in smart home security. CPI.
Pulse of the Pack is sponsored in part by Coca-Cola. Crisp, refreshing, and irresistibly tasty. Is Coke Zero Sugar the best Coke ever? Try and decide.
We're halfway through the season for NC State. Second half is coming up, starting with Syracuse on Saturday night. Last year, they go over to Duke, score only 3 points, lose the game. I think they're 4-3 at that point. They go into open date. That was the great reset. And it was a great reset because, as we know, the Pack closed out the season with a 5-game winning streak. But most of the adjustments they had to make going into that great reset were on the offensive side of the ball. They changed their approach. They started huddling more. It was back. MJ Morris decides he takes a red shirt, so Brennan Armstrong comes back in as your starting quarterback, and they said they just turned him loose, let him run the football, which he does very well. And then he seemed to throw the ball better after that happened. Now I think for if this, although it's not an open date this week, I think the difference this year is the great reset is going to have to come on defense. And I've got the numbers. We'll talk about the numbers this year compared to last year, but it's been a big-time struggle for a defense that under Tony Gibson has traditionally been one of the best in the league.
Yeah, and some of the numbers are pretty startling when you start comparing them. But I think if you also look back at some of the numbers, the success of the defense, when you have guys like Isaiah Moore, Drake Thomas, Peyton Wilson in a lineage at one point playing on the field at the same time, that's like a handed down group, a handed down success rate of linebackers. And this unit, the linebackers have to play really well in this defense. And some games they have. I mean, you look at 2 games ago, the leading tacklers were Caden Fordham and Sean Brown against a team that loves to run the football. And I was thinking, okay, they found something here as far as how they defend the run. But then you look at Wake Forest, who came in and everybody thought they were just going to throw it all over the lot. They had run it okay. But I think what happened on the ground for Wake Forest, particularly in that fourth quarter, has given a little pause to, okay, what can NC State do to try to fix that run defense that's been inconsistent at best this year?
Well, let's dig into it. Let's look at the numbers. We'll just start with points. Last year,
which is the most important stat
at the end of the day.
Right?
There's no question about it. Last year, NC State defense in the 13 games held its opponents to 21 points per game. This year, it's 33.7. Now, that's skewed a bit in that you've got those 2 games, Clemson, Tennessee. Both of those teams scored over 50. For 3 quarters against Wake, they were really good, but they just couldn't get off the field in the fourth quarter. And let's go to rushing yards per game. Last year, 116.5. Opponents averaged 4 yards per carry. You'd like to have it under 4, but 116 per game is not awful. But this year, opponents through 6 games are averaging 159 yards per game and 5 yards per carry. Now that number this year has been impacted mostly by the number of explosive running plays they have given up. And that's not something we have seen very much at NC State under Tony Gibson. They really have done a good job eliminating explosive plays. But here is the most telling stat. Last year, third down defense. The Pack held its opponents to 28% third down conversions. This year, that bumps up to 40%. So NC State opponents converting on third down 40% of the time. That's a very high number. And if you want to throw in, thanks to that Wake Forest game, NC State's opponents 6 of 9 converting fourth downs. Those are back-breaking stats. When you're playing good defense and you're getting teams in third and long or third and medium, and then they're converting at that rate and you can't get off the field.
And you hear all the time, offense help out the defense by staying on the field, defense help your offense by getting off the field. And that was the total opposite of what happened against Wake Forest. The offense couldn't stay on the field, and the defense couldn't get off the field.
In the fourth quarter.
In the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that
You're
one
exactly
quarter.
right.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of what's bugging the coaching staff so much, and the players too. They have yet to play a 4-quarter football game through 6 games. The turnaround this year is going to start defensively, but I do think this is an offense that can score more than it did last year, and it has the ability, I think, to put up 30, 35 points a game.
We look forward to the second half of the season. Basketball coming up, an exciting time. It'll be great to see those banners raised, and we'll have more to say about that on upcoming podcasts. For Jeff Bradley, I'm Tony Haynes. Thanks for listening.